I'm Andrew Phillips. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at this PS4, PlayStation 4. I picked this up on eBay for a very good deal. It was listed in the description of having some issues. So we're going to go through it and diagnose those issues and get it corrected. So let's go ahead and get started. As we saw, it's not manifesting any of the things that were mentioned in the description. I did have my son, who's a gamer. He does a lot of Fortnite competitions, online gaming. He had an issue with his PS4 a few years back, overheating. So we're trying to get it to do the same thing by putting a heavy load on this thing. We had it running for hours, couldn't get it to overheat. So maybe I don't know, maybe it's not as bad as the seller thought. Another thing is we saw when we put the CD in, it did move a little bit slow on the eject and taking it in. Nothing major. I was expecting it to be a lot worse. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to open it up. We're going to clean it out because I can see some dust in there. Let me get a close up and I'll show you. But we're going to open it up, clean it out real good, replace the thermal paste on it. And then I'm just going to clean the rollers on the CD mechanism. A lot of times when those get dirty from a lot of use, it can slow it down. So we're going to just kind of get it restored and cleaned up really good and then wrap this up. So let me get a close up and then we'll start opening this up. As we come along here, you can see some dust right there. That's not good. And then let's move around near the vent. Moving along here, you can see dust in there caking up around the vent. You want that nice and clear so this thing can breathe. A lot of times if you're having overheating issues, it's a good idea to not just blow it out from the outside, but open it up and clean it real good. And then coming along here at the back, you can see a lot of dust down in there as well. So definitely in need of a cleaning. A lot of times like the HDMI port, the auxiliary port, things like that, you want to clean those out too. You don't want dust caked up in there. This side's not bad like it was on the other side, but still, you want it all nice and clean. First thing we need to do is we need to remove that label and that label so we can access the screws to start taking this apart. But as you can see, it has a disclaimer right on there that the warranty is void if the seal has been removed or damaged. So just be aware of that. Once you start tampering here, you're going to void the warranty. But let's remove these so we can see what screws and see what kind of screwdriver or Torx bit we need to remove it. Using just a very small screwdriver, we can lift that up. And what we have under here, this is a T8. Now this is what's known as a Torx screw. Now this is a security Torx screw. So it has a little point there in the middle. So the bit that you're going to use is as shown here. If you want to see one of my videos where I go more in depth about Torx screws and Torx bolts and different things and kind of go into the different bits used for the different security ones, you can check it out via the link above. But anyway, that's what we're going to need for both of these. So I'm going to remove this label as well, and then we can start taking those off. Now with these screws out, we can slide this piece here off to the side. Here it goes. Turn it like this. You can see it better. Work it off slow, and then it'll slide like that. Once you get it away from these clips, we can pull it out of the way. And now we have access in here. And look at this. Look how dirty it is in here. No wonder why he was claiming those issues, even though we didn't see it manifest. But still, look how dirty this is. Now with this panel off, there's two more T8 security Torx screws, one here and one here that I'm going to remove so we can get this panel here off. Now with these screws out, what we're going to do is lift it up here like we did here on this corner. This corner can be a little tight, but you want to pop this one off as well. You don't want to break it. Let's get that off. There we go. And then now we're going to slide it back this way. So that way we clear those ports in the back. Lift that up. Look at this one. This one's dirty too, but we'll set this off to the side. And let me get a close-up in here. This thing is very dusty, just to show you, which might have been some of the issues that the seller was encountering. Look at all that. Of course, we saw that already, but take a look. Really bad. You do not want it to get to that point because that can cause issues with the performance and overheating. Here are the insides of the lids. You can see they're pretty dusty as well, so we're going to get all that cleaned out. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to clean this out. I was going to use just a blower to blow the dust out, but with this here, I don't want to be blowing it further in, so I'm just going to use just my shop vac and just clean this surface dust out of here. And then as we dig further down in, then we'll either use the blower or maybe use this again, but let's clean that. Now that we got the bulk of that dust out of the way, we can continue removing more pieces. Next, we're ready to remove all of this. So you have a combination of Phillips screws and more of those T8 Torx security screws holding all this together. So we're going to go through and remove all of that, and then we'll be back to start taking things off. Now with all the screws removed, we can start removing these pieces. So we'll start back here. This little black piece here, we can remove that. We'll set that off to the side. Then we're going to remove this little piece right here. And this one's kind of clipped in. There we go. You can see already a little bit of dirt and debris right there. And we can lift this up here. Oh, and actually forgot to get a screw right here. Now this will come right up. Lift this up. Set this off to the side. And this looks, we have some dirt here. These are right here. I'll get a close up, but definitely get to clean this, but you want to be careful because you have a lot of little components in here. Let's see, it looks kind of dusty. Next, we're going to remove this here. So this is another Phillips screw. Slide that forward. Bring that out. Next thing, we're going to remove this ribbon connection here. We'll grab this little blue tab and gently pull that out. Like that. And then now we're going to flip it over so we can remove this back piece. Now this back piece is just clipped on. So what you're going to do is just have to feel along the edges to grab it so that way you can pop it off. Some people use a little plastic piece or a screwdriver. I'm just going to do it by hand because I don't want to crack anything if I'm able to. If not, I'm going to have to grab a device to do it. Having a hard time pulling it by hand, so I'll just take this very small screwdriver, just get it right in here, just enough to open that up. And then we can just pull that down like that. And once it pulls that clip out, then you can keep working it, and then the rest of it will start coming out. So now with that off, you can just keep pulling this back. Get the clips off. Bring this here again. Want to be careful. Okay, that's off. Let's do the next side. Okay. Show you here on this one. Got this side now. And once you have this down, then now the front, you can slide this like that. It'll come right out. And very dusty again in here. You can see inside that housing, very dusty. Let me get a close up. All around the fan, you can see it in here. I mean, I've seen worse, but this is still not good. And then if we come in here, inside the case there, all dusty. So let's clean that out. A lot of cobwebs and dirt in here. Want to be careful with those ribbons. And as we look at the fan, look at all that caked up on there. We're going to blow all that out and clean that. Next, we're going to remove these 2 Phillips screws so we can remove this. And then we're going to remove 2 Phillips screws here so we can remove that plate. Use this. Very small. And then now we can remove this here. Just slide it right here. Be careful with this ribbon. And then we're going to put this off to the side. Should come out. These screws are very long. There we go. Next, I'm going to remove this Torx here, another Torx here. We have one here, and I believe that's it. So we can remove this whole piece out of here. So let's remove those. One here. And then this one here. Okay. And now this power supply should be able to come up. We're going to move it up gently. Let me turn it this way so you can see it. So here's where our plug goes in. So we're going to grab that. There we go. Gently wiggle that up. And you want to go easy because this is connected still. It's going to be tight in there and snug, but just be patient with it. But I'm working it up slowly like that. And then we're gently going to lift it up. And you want to be very careful because you have a connection here that you do not want to damage. So as we lean it back, and I'll show you, this thing is filthy, but I'm going to set this here. Let me get a close up. Look at all that junk in there that we need to get out. Filthy. Even on this side. And then this is what we're looking at here. This connection is what you do not want to damage. We need to remove that. This can be tricky sometimes to remove, and I see people online say needle nose pliers, which I was going to use, but it's too risky because you can't grab it. I'm using one of these pliers here. These are actually made for ear hose clamps, because with them you can get a really good grip, and they pinch because you have the angle, so you can grab it like that and easily work it out without any danger. Now with that out, we can move this off to the side. And as we saw, let's clean this here next, get all that junk out of there.
We're going to wipe all this down anyway. Just want to get all the loose dirt and debris out of here right now. And we'll blow all that out in there. You see stuff all the way in there as well.
Next, we have these 3 ribbons that need to be removed. These 2 just slide out, so we can just work them out and just pull them out gently. This one here, that black part, needs to be pulled out, so we'll have to work it this way and pull it out. So for these here, we can just grab them, and you want to be gentle because you don't want to damage the ribbon cable, but if we just come in, we can just gently grab it here and just side by side, or side to side, gently just pull it up, and that comes right out. Same with this little guy here, but I am going to use this. There we go. Now for this one, we're going to have to actually pull the black piece. So if we gently come up on the ends, we can slowly pull it up. Then get it right here. Use our needle nose, but we'll gently just work it up. You don't want to damage the ribbon. Then you have a little clip here in the front. You can pull up on. Now with that black clip raised up, you can just pull it out like that. Now that these are disconnected, we're going to flip it over. And now on this side here, we have these Phillips 2 right here that need to come off. There we go. That off to the side. And then we have this little shield right here. Gently pull that out. There we go. We'll set that off to the side. Next, we need to remove this little button here, so we can just pull up on it like this, gently, and just slide it forward. You don't want to break it, but it will slide right out. Like that. We'll set that off to the side. And then this can just be lifted up. You can see how dirty that is. We're going to be cleaning it. I have this brush right here. So we're going to be going over it and getting all this cleaned up before we put it back together. But we're just going to lift this up and it'll come right out. Now we need to take this off so it doesn't pull. This is another Torx screw. Lift this up and just pull this out here. There's a little clip that it goes around. There we go. Pull that off here, so that way there's no strain on it when we remove the board. pull that through. And then now if we set this down, and you want to be careful because you do have a connection here, but this thermal paste on this thing is gone. But let me get a close-up. You can see the thermal paste right there, how it's all just worn down. And then this is where it was connected. Just a little remnant left, and it's got some greasy residue there coming off. But either way, definitely in need of being replaced. So we're going to clean that off with some alcohol and just get all that cleared off, and then we'll get ready to apply our new one and then put everything back. I'm going to take my brush. We're going to clean this board real good. Brush all the dust and debris off of it. Clean it really good. You can see we also have a lot of just dirt and junk here. We're going to clean that as well once we get to that point. But you want to take advantage of the opportunity that you have it all open and just clean it real good. Okay. And you can detach this connection here if you want. I'm leaving that on since it's not really causing any issues. Now the next thing I'm going to do, we're going to get some cotton ball with rubbing alcohol, and we're going to start cleaning this off real good. You want to clean it very nice. It's coming off really good. And you want to clean it like you can see here. You want to be able to see all the writing on it. So I'm going to clean this real good. We're going to clean this off right here real good. And then I'll be back once I'm done cleaning everything so we can take a look at it before we start putting everything back together. I just removed the 3 screws from this plate here. I wiped it down. But we're going to lift it up and see if it needs cleaning on the other side. While we're at this point, it's always good to make sure everything's clean. So let's flip this over. All right, and you can see this is pretty bad off too. So I'm going to clean this out as well. We'll get this all cleaned up. And then if we come here, I'll just show you, I've cleaned that off. All of the thermal paste has been cleaned off, all the residue. So once we clean this plate here, then we'll start putting the new thermal paste on and putting everything back together. I wasn't planning on disconnecting this, but after seeing everything here, we're going to disconnect this from the board so we can remove the fan, clean that real good. I mean, we're already at this point here. We'll clean all of this out. And then we'll start putting everything back together, but we'll brush out the boards as we get to them. I may take these over to my garage. My garage, I have a air compressor with a really strong blower. I do have one of these containers here that I was going to be using as well. However, we'll see how that goes, but I want this to be completely clean. Just pull this out. I already loosened it with my ear hose clamp pliers. So now that that's off, we can take this board and just set it off to the side over here while that's drying. And now I'm going to remove this fan so we can clean that. And it's held on here. You have screw right here. I believe that's it. Yeah, only the one screw holding it on, a Phillips screw. Just remove that. Here's this fan. It looks disgusting. So we're going to take the fan, a couple of these other items over to the garage, blow them out real good, and then we'll be back. Everything is nice and clean after blowing that off. But what I'm going to do now is just take a cotton ball with a little bit of alcohol, wipe all this dirt and debris off here. And then once I'm done with that, we'll be back to apply the thermal paste and start putting everything back together. And we'll be cleaning it in the process because I don't want to be locking up dirt and junk back in here. Everything is clean. I just put the fan back in. We have that screwed in place. So next we're going to bring this panel back. This has all been clean. You can see on this side already. We'll set this in. And this you want to line it up like that. There we go. And now we can put these screws in. And there's little arrows that show you where the screws go. So if you wind up in a position where you don't remember, just look for the little arrows. Here. And then there's one here. Everything is on. This has all been cleaned right here. This is where, when we put the thermal paste on, it's going to lay here. That, as we saw before, it was a mess. Thermal paste was completely shot, but I'll just go over these again. Okay. So the thermal paste that I'm going to be using is this one here, the Thermal Grizzly. This one here is highly recommended. You can get other ones like at Best Buy online, but this is the really good stuff here. This has a very high resistance. But let me open this up and then we'll get a close-up. And I'll show you what it looks like. The tube is very small compared to other ones that you buy, but you do get the little spatula here so you can spread it out. So we're going to apply it here and then we'll lay this in place. Let me get a close-up as we do it. This is how you want it cleaned up. You can see how nice it looks, completely clean of all the old thermal paste. So we're going to apply it there. You can put a glob in the middle and then just press it down. I'm going to use the spatula and spread it out evenly across that. And then here's another shot here. You can see how clean that is as well, where it's going to be laying onto. We'll bring in the applicator and go ahead and squeeze some on here. And now let's get our spatula. Spread it out evenly like that. You want to even it out, but you don't want to obviously take away from it. So I think we're good right there. Now that we have that on and we've already brushed this all off here, you don't want to be putting it back on all dirty. We want to take this, we're going to feed this back through here since that needs to go through on that end. So we'll pull that through. Get that all the way through here. We're going to take this harness, plug this back in right here to a clips. There we go. And now we're going to gently bring this in place, pulling that through. Now this side of the board needs to be cleaned still. You want to line up all of this. Let's see here. There we go. This has to slide underneath this little silver piece. So we want it to do that. There we go, like that. see here. And there's a little piece right there that you need to get it over. That's the problem right here. Hold on. Gotta be careful here. Probably should have attached this. I'm going to pull this out. We can put this back on afterwards. Hang on. Because that's not allowing us to properly get the, there we go. There we go. Get that dust out of there. That comes in, and then we can lower it right into position here. And that's on, and then now we can connect this. Easier to do it this way. There we go. I want that completely seated in there. There. That's attached. This is now in place. The thermal paste is on. Now you have these thermal pads, I believe they're called here. I'm going to clean all this off. All this junk on here. And then, you know what, let me get my my blower. We'll bring this in here. That's better. Sometimes you need to replace these pads as well, but these pads look good. Next, we're going to start putting everything back together. Take a Q-tip with a little bit of alcohol and just clean these off as well while we have this all open here. And then we're going to clean these as well. This is where it attaches to those. We'll clean all this off as well. They're very dirty. All right, next thing, we're going to put this back in place right here. There you go. And then we can reattach this. Goes here. Put this one in before we get that one too tight. You don't want these over tightened either. I would just tighten them until you get some resistance and then call it a day. You don't want to over tighten them and crack anything. So now that's in place. And there it is all together. You can see how clean everything is. And we'll be cleaning everything as we put each component back. I'm going to put everything back. We're going to clean it as we go along. I'm not going to show all that and bore you with that. If you want to see how to put everything back, just pretty much backtrack how we took it apart. That's the same order we're going to do it in. And then we'll be back once I have it all together so we can then attach everything back to the TV and test it and see how everything's working. As we look here, you can see these little arrows. They show you exactly where screws are supposed to go. Now, you do want to keep track of what sizes you removed because some of those can change. But if we move along here as well, all these spots, you'll see the little arrow. You see one there on the left, you see one there on the right. Wrapping it up here, we'll put this last piece here, this little cap. Get this thing in place. I've hand tightened all these screws, but now we're just going to go around and make sure they're all secure. There we go. And you don't want to over tighten these, so we're just going around and just making sure we're good. All the Phillips ones have already been done. It's only the Torx ones that needed it. All right, so we are good with that. You can see here for the lids, they've been already cleaned. I've cleaned them very good. Slide this one here in place and then just clips down. And just secure it all around. This one also, we'll put these last Torx screws in for these. That's good. There we are. And then now this last one here, this one slides in and then just push it in. That clips in. And then now we'll put the tube back here. The little black Torx screws that go in here. Get this one in. Let's try a disc in here and see if the CD drive works better. You can see that it goes in a lot smoother. Let's remove it. And look at that, comes out a lot smoother. It was a little jittery at the beginning. We're going to load Fortnite since this has a heavy draw on it and see how it works. It's looking good. Let's take a look at the temperature on this thing. If we touch it, there we go. Nice and cool, no signs of any overheating. As we saw, everything is working great. Now, obviously at the beginning it was working as well, but just wanted to go through, since the seller did mention some issues. As we saw, the thermal paste was really bad, definitely need to be replaced. Wasn't manifesting the overheating, but it probably would have in time. Thing was very dirty, needed a really good cleaning. We got all that dust and junk out of there. Thermal paste replaced, cleaned it up, put it back together. So this thing should be in very good shape. The seller had already updated the hard drive, and he put a 1 gig in there. I don't know if this normally came with a 500 or a 1 gig, but either way, got the new hard drive, the new thermal paste. It's all cleaned up. So this thing should have a lot of life still left in it. So that wraps up this video on diagnosing and fixing this supposedly non-working PlayStation 4 that I picked up on eBay very cheap. As mentioned already, we saw at the beginning of the description, the seller had mentioned that it had an overheating issue when under heavy load, and that the CD drive was also acting up. We got all that fixed. It's working great. So that wraps up this video. I hope it was informative for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it also helped you out if you're working on a PS4. I'll have links down in the description to specific videos I've done on fixing these, as well as other gaming systems, whether it be casino games, arcades, claw machines, PlayStations, all that. So please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate all the support. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.